Shalom. I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth, learning or teaching this gospel in truth and sincerity. Shalom. Today I want to go over the feast of dedication. I was busy, got to miss. I didn't get to go over it on the block. Yahawah Radazah, now I get to go over it. So, real quick. There we go. So the Feast of Dedication was Sunday night to Monday, the 18th to the 26th, for 8 days straight. Feast of Dedication, known as Hanukkah in Hebrew. So I'm gonna go over it. So so basically, like this was the downfall of our oppressors, you know. The time passed, just like how the Passover is tied to the downfall was tied to the downfall of the Egyptians, you know. So and then this is the Feast of Dedication deals with the rededication of the temple. It was rededicated after it was taken over by the Edomites when they got into Jerusalem. Defiled the temple by doing abominable acts, by making people do abominable things within the temple. The Maccabean family, led by, as known as the Thessalonian dynasty, later known in history, he rounded up the people who were the righteous and the men that were righteous. They fought violently against the Greeks. They were able to push them out. And it was a glorious victory by getting the temple back. Yeah. It led to long independence within the Greek Empire. So the Judea was considered as the independent state for a period of time until the Roman Empire, which is another discussion though, but we're going to get into the prophetic history on what was going to happen in the Daniel chapter 8 during the Babylonian captivity, and he was given prophetic understanding through the dreams that King Nebuchadnezzar was having visions that he was that the goat would come, you know. The visions of the statue, the head of the gold, chest of the silver. Then you go later on further and you got the bronze by the legs of iron. This was the vision that he had with the different animals that would represent the coming of the empires that would have our people in captivity. So I'm going to get into Daniel 8 and 5 to 8. I'm downtown. Shit. I'm downtown Stockton right now. I'm gonna go over that Daniel 8. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 8 and verse 5. And I was considered, behold, and he, a goat, come from the west of the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Verse 6, and he came to a ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. Verse 7, and I saw him close unto the ram, and he was moved with the choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Verse 8, therefore that he had goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken, for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. So that was about the Greek Empire, you know. So the Greek Empire is represented by the goat, like how I said in the verse, the goat. You know? The Persian Empire was represented by the ram. The reason why the ram had 2 horns is because it was dual empires with the 2 different nations that ruled it, the Medes and the Persians. So before the Feast of Dedication happened, you have to understand what happened historically prior to that led to the celebrating of the Feast of Dedication. Yeah, you got to understand what happens prior to that. And you know, the ram was represented by the Media Persian Empire. It was taken down by the animal that you see from an allegorical standpoint and a symbolic standpoint. And the goat was represented by the Greeks. And the horn in between on the goat was represented Alexander the Great. That's why it says it on verse 8. I'll go back to verse 8. Yeah, that's why it says it on verse 8. Therefore, when you had it, therefore, the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. You know? Like in verse 5, 6, and 7, it was talking about the goat, and then the 2 horns and the ram, like how I explained. Greek is Greek. Greek is the Greek-speaking language of the Greek areas of the world which are Hellenized during the Greek Empire. So like when people will say that Gentiles mean save these other nations. No? So I'm going to get into that 1 Maccabees chapter 1. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1. That Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kedem, had smitten Darius, king of that Persians and Medes, and that he reigned in his stead in the first over Greece. So this was the prophecy being fulfilled from Daniel 8. You know, Darius, in verse 1, Darius was the king of the Persians and Medes. That is the 2 horns right there. Persians and the Medes. You know, that was the 2 horns like I was saying. And that was represented on the ram. So it says Alexander, the son of Philip, took down Darius and the Persians in the Medes Empire. And that's how the goat ended up taking down the ram, you know? Like according to prophecy in the book of Daniel, like how I went over in chapter 8. that book of Daniel prophesied was a couple of centuries before it happened. Just like in Daniel chapter 11. And the brother Yahawah broke it down, and I'll drop his video in the comment. I watched the video too. It was very edifying. Now this is showing you Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi controls all the empires, that come and reign on the earth. Yahawah would show down to the man and how he would fall. Just like with the Pharaoh, he builded him up and then he fell. The same thing's gonna happen to Esau. He's gonna be builded up. In the end times, like it's coming Yahawah at us all now, he's gonna be thrown down. So Yahawah would he would show that. And then, so what would happen is the horn would wax great, which is Alexander ended up dying and departing his empire unto four other notable ones. He broke his empire up into four other notable ones. And it's going to go into that as we read down. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 2. And it was many wars, and won many strongholds, and slowed the kings of the earth. Verse 3, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. Verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over the countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants such as were honorable, and he had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So these were the notable ones right there that he broke them up to. So he parted his kingdom into four different parts. I'm gonna keep reading. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. Verse 8, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. Verse 9, and after his death they put crowns upon themselves, so they did their sons after them many years, and the evil were multiplied in the earth. So you see, after Alexander conquered the known world at the time, he had died and the empire was split into four parts, like how I was saying of his friends. Each took a piece of the empire. Once that happened, there was a lot of evil upon the earth, like how I just read in the last verse. It was multiplied, the wickedness. So now we are going to get into who the little horn was. And this is going to explain what happened in the book of Maccabees that led into the Feast of Dedication. This is Daniel 8, verse 9. And after his death, they put crowns upon themselves, so they did their sons after them for many years. And evil were multiplied in the earth. Out of one of the four notable ones came out a little horn. It's lucky for saying but it's like, it just happens. That was the Seleucian Empire. That's what it was. That during the time. It's lucky. God
bless.
Yeah. Well, praises if you want to hear it. It's good. Yeah. So no, the little horn. It was. So I was going into the little horn, but who the little horn was, right? Fine. So the little horn was
That's what I was getting to, the little horn, because he wasn't great or known as Alexander, but he had power. That was the term horn. Means when it comes to the prophetic understanding, like I'll read verse 10 as well, because I read 9, how there was wicked multiplied in the earth. Verse 10, and there came out a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137 years of the kingdom of the Greeks. So yeah, right there, Slovakia. Yes, that's this allegory for the host of heaven is actually not talking about the actual calculations or the stars. It is talking about the children of Israel. The children of Israel, they are allegories being likened unto the stars, the constellations. So the people who were stamped upon couldn't actually stamp upon the actual stars. So basically destroyed many of the people, invaded the land, and killed a lot of people and caused a lot of destruction in the land. This is verse 11 and 12. And in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go make a covenant with the heathen, that they are round about us, for since we are departed from them, we have much sorrow. Verse 12, so this device pleased them well. The daily sacrifices were taken away, and this is where they were doing abominable things in the temple. And then that's how our people became Gentiles, by making a covenant with the heathen through Antiochus. He Hellenized many of the people in these areas, that he conquered, and he did it. It's like in Asia Minor and Greece, that the Greeks been spoken, and the same thing in Egypt as well, and in different parts of Syria. This was the Seleucid Empire during the time of Antiochus. Get to verse 13. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Verse 14, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. And that is what happened. After a while, the Maccabees and the rest of the righteous brothers that were at that time were able to overthrow the Greeks and cleanse the Redic, the temple. And that's the prophecy in the book of Daniel. I'll go down to 15. And they made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to the mischief. Verse 16, now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion of 2 realms. So they forsook the covenant. Once you leave the covenant, you leave bahasham, Yahawashi. So that's how our people became Gentiles in these days. Going into Genesis 26 and 4. I'll read that real quick. It's Genesis chapter 26 and verse 4. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and I will give unto the seed of all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of earth be blessed. So that's like how Israel will be likened unto the stars, how it was going over earlier. And how the promise he was going to multiply them as the stars. Of course it is a lot that we would be hard trying to count, but the host of heaven as the stars. Just like that Daniel 8 had it to be a dark saying for the way it was spoken at that time. Now here's another example. This is a Revelation chapter 12 and verse 1. And it appeared a great wonder in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Salakia. So the 12 stars represented the 12 tribes of Israel. And that's what I got right here on this plaque, this banner, Salakia. 12 tribes of Israel. Not all Israel is getting saved, you know, only the remnant, the 12 tribes. So cast some of the stars into the ground. It is basically talking about Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, because those were the 3 tribes that were there. Another prophecy that also says about the third part of the stars that were taken, which is in Revelation 12 and 4. So verse 4. And his tail drew in the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So that verse 4 goes back into Daniel 8 and 10. I'll read it again. Look at Daniel chapter 8 and verse 10. And it waxed great, even to the host of the heaven. And it cast down some of the host and the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. So and that links up right with Revelation 12 and 4. Even this Bible, the Common Prayer Book, lines up right with it. It tells you on it. It's highly recommended to copies. That's why it goes back into Daniel 8 and 10. And he's tied up with it, cast to the earth, and that verse 4, it was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in that Revelation 12 and 4. And that was still in the land. They were still in the land in the time of the Maccabean revolt. Get back into that first Maccabees. Yahawah, what is up? So this first Maccabees 1 in chapter 1 and verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 100 years and 37 year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So at this point, they have been ruling for 137 years. That's what it explained in that verse. And they ruled from 175 BC to 164 BC. Look it up on Wikipedia when you look up Antiochus, the king. 170 years before Yahawashi was born, this happened. This guy Antiochus the sixth, or the IV, and Phoenice caused our people to become Gentiles, like I was saying, and Greeks. And he was the one that forced that upon our people. That is why you got to get into the New Testament. It's talking about the Greeks and the Gentiles. Those are our people that were forced, that were descendants of those that were forced to be Hellenized. Nothing new under the sun. That's like our people today, forsaking the covenant, and they're Gentiles, you know? So he was fighting against one of the other factions, you know, that ruled in the Greek Empire. That's what he was fighting against. The other one that ruled in the Greek Empire. You look it up in the map on the Wikipedia of the Macedonia Empire to show that where Alexander came out, and he was an Edomite of the line of Gay, and he was an Amalekite. Amalek. He was the Amalek. Salakia, I'm trying to say it right. Like the rest of the Macedonians were from that lineage, and that lived during the time were descendants of Amalek. It is chronicled in even old sources that was written concerning Alexander the Great and those that ruled the empire. The evils multiplied in the earth wickedly when they came into power, like how I was reading in that First Maccabees, chapter 1. The spirit of Amalek is the most off spirit of all nations on the earth. None of more often the Edomite brethren, of their Edomite brethren, So the Seleucid Empire was the empire we were under the time of the Greeks. And the Seleucid Empire, on the map, you look on the Wikipedia map, it shows you on there that Ptolemaic kingdom was to the upper right, and right by Israel. And a lot of people fled Israel and went into Egypt because the revolutionary dynasty was more friendly toward our people and wanted more people in the event. They would be going because they were going against the Seleucid Empire, so they wanted more people. So they allowed our people to migrate in large numbers. And that's like how when Yahawashi was born, he migrated into Egypt because most of our people were out there. And to settle in Alexandria, this area is known as the land of Bashani, that area that the children of Israel dwelt in during the time of the Egyptian captivity. A lot of them settled in Alexandria, Egypt, and that's what you know as Alexandria Jews. That was known in the ancient worlds. The Seleucid Empire stopped going towards Persia, and it officially stopped in Syria, going towards modern day Lebanon, and of course the land of Israel. After the Maccabean revolt, we became independent. Go back to see what happened during Antiochus IV. Go back into that first Maccabees. This is First Maccabees. First Maccabees chapter 1. Well, yeah, a lot of wicked men, like how I read on that verse 11. Well, I read all this already, so I'll just read it again. In those days they went out of Israel, wicked men who persuaded many, let us go make a covenant with the heathen that they round about us, for since we departed from them we have much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Verse 13, and then certain of the people that were so forward herein, they went to the king and gave them license to do after ordinance of the heathen. Verse 14, and whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen. Verse 15, and they made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and they joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to mischief. Verse 16, now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egyptian, that he might have dominion over the two realms. So this was the beginning of the uncircumcision in the New Testament, where it comes from, because we have to tie the Feast of Dedication to the New Testament to let everyone know. To let everyone know why they took out the Apocrypha. This is why the Apocrypha is important to us today. It throws all the false doctrine off, and it always had an evil set. It's like it, because we always had an evil set to our people, you know? That's what we have to realize. That we always had an evil set to our people. And I'll go over how the Apocrypha was taken out. The Apocrypha, selection of books that were published in the original 1611 King James Bible. These apocryphal books were poisoned between the Old and New Testament, and they contain maps and genealogies. The Apocrypha was part of the King James Version for 274 years until being removed in 1885 AD. A portion of these books were called Deuterocanonical books by some Gentiles, you know, and it was removed in 1885 AD for a reason. They didn't want our people to be awake. Part of the deception of Esau. No, we always had an evil set of our people, like how we were saying. And that's why it's good for us to expose our people that made a covenant with the heathen. Things were always done eternally, like the Black Panthers, and it's always an eternal fight, and they rat out the people to put us in bad situations against our enemies. Just like how Esau does. Put us in bad situations against our enemies. It always happens over and over again, you know, and some type of thing of our people are going through. We went through like 14 captivities in this lifetime, including the one we're in today in Babylon. And you could see it played out over and over again. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 21. And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials of the censers of gold and the vial and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. And he took also the silver and gold and the precious vessels, and he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Hey, Shalom, if you want to hear the word, it's good. You know, he massacred a lot of our people. He was stealing things out of the temple right there, how it says when he took precious hidden treasures which he found, you know? So that's what I'm telling you. And then he was talking a lot of smack, you know? Verse 25, therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they went. And that was all unprovoked. That's why we shouldn't trust our enemy, like Sirach 12 and 10, you know? Man, don't be cool with our enemies. So this was like 6 years later when he came into power and he did this. Verse 28, and the lands also was removed for the inhabitants thereof, and the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. Verse 30, and they speak peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it with very sword and destroyed much people of Israel. So you know that's just like that Psalms 55 and 21. It's talking smooth
but drawing swords. He's talking like sweet like oil, but you got a sword behind you. And you're coming with war, because Esau's a hunter. That's what he does. He does these hunting tactics where he'll deceive you. He'll it's nothing new right there. He was speaking peaceable words, but it came with deceit, because he was a war. Just like Jeremiah 2:33, trimmest thy ways to seek love. Just paraphrasing, you know? It's like, come on now. They screwed up the first time not to get involved with these heathens, man. We screwed up the first time. It's like yeah, we screwed up the first time. To not get involved with these heathens. The wicked, our people, turned their back on Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, you know, from the beginning. They was like our ancestors, you know, when they forsook Moses, you know, murmuring against him. In Numbers 12 and 1-6. Read that. They were complaining and murmuring against Moses, talking mess about him in the tents in Egypt. It's nothing new. And that Psalms 55 and 21, man, it's the same concept, man. Always done like this. Deceit, war, Esau tactics. You know, he's a hunter, man. It's hunting tactics, man. Esau tactics. Not to make a covenant with the heathen, like how I read in the first Maccabees. This is what they did. Man, our people took the covenant with the heathen. Our people never understand. These people will oppress and massacre you. We read about that, and they still trust the enemy. All the stuff that was used for the sanctuary was taken. If you took the cobblestone from the Arabs, known as Ishmael, they would do war against us until they believe their God comes, you know? Just like I said, Jeremiah 2:33, you know, they go out their way to seek love. This became stumbling blocks among the people. That's why Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi raised up real men that don't trust the heathen. We don't trust our enemies, and we put down the heathen. We would never talk to Edom and transfer this kingdom over to. We would never consult with Edom to transfer this kingdom over us, because we want the kingdom of heaven. That's why we lay our treasures upon heaven. This is what happened. And this is what happened to the Haitian ruler after the Haitian Revolution. He went and had a meeting with the French. They took and imprisoned him, and they starved him, and he died in the prison. Let me go on now. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 30. And he spoke peaceful words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and the walls thereof. So he was throwing fires on the whole place. Verse 32, but when women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle, verse 33, and they builded the city of David with a great and strong wall with mighty towers. With mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. So they killed many of our people, you know. Many of the men were targeted and killed, and they took women and children captive as slaves, the ones that they were able to get. And this is after the morning when the first temple was massacred and raided. Like I was saying, they burned houses. So people remaining were homeless. And they were outside homeless, spoiled,
meaning their possessions were taken from them. And that's what Esau does. He spoils. And they that spoil will be spoiled, you know? It's like you kill with the sword, you get... It's a Slovakia paraphrasing. They that kill with the sword must be killed with the sword. Revelation 13:10, man. Goes right with that too. Meaning their possessions were taken from them, you know. They took their cattle. You know, they burned the cities, so they burned the crops, no way to eat. They were homeless and had nothing to eat. That's to break it down economically and socially. People don't understand that the scattering of Israel, some of the children who were taken captive, younger boys, if they weren't killed after being taken captive and old enough to being able to have children, they would be in these other lands where they were taken captive, even during this time. I'm going to read on. This is our first Maccabees. First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 33. And they said unto them, let them that which ye have done hither to suffice, and come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. Verse 35, so when they gave them the battle with all speed, Slovakia. What was that? First Maccabees chapter 1. Slovakia, yeah. It's First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, fortified themselves therein. And they stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, an evil adversary to Israel. So they built a military command. Shalom. You want to hear the word? Come hear it. Tough tribes of Israel. Yep. You want to hear the word, brother? I got you. Nah.
What religion you think I am?
A heritage, right?
No, what religion?
It's a heritage.
Whatever I am.
Descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jake's gonna be Jake. They built a he's scoffing? Come. And they built a military command post in Jerusalem. That's what I was reading, what they did right there. They built a military command post in Jerusalem. And thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. Shedding blood, that's what Esau does, man. Just like Habakkuk 2 and 12. Built a city off iniquity and shedding blood. Just like how Babylon was created out here today. So when the people, they were going to the sanctuary, the Israelites, they would be killing them. No? The Israelites would get killed for going to the sanctuary. Every time they would be coming, they would be killed. If they come to fast or give sacrifices, the Edomites would come kill them, basically. They was like the modern day KKK. This was one of the origins, like the KKK. Verse 38, insomuch that inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of the strangers and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. a lot of our own people fled. Jerusalem left the city. A lot of them settled in Alexandria, Egypt, because the Relatemic dynasty was more friendly. It was more friendly to the Jews because the rivalry they had toward the Seleucid Empire, who they were warring with. So, Salakia, the Pelotemic, I was putting an R in it. It's the Pelotemic dynasty. The Pelotemic dynasty were Edomites, and they were descendants of Alexander the Great, the friends that Alexander gave his 1/4 part of his empire towards. They knew it would benefit them to have the population of the Jews on their side. So a lot of our people fled to Alexandria. This is why a lot of our people fled. This is why Joseph and Mary, with the infant Yahawashi, were able to flee to Egypt and hide from Herod, because there were so many of our people there. And if you have Josephus go into the Alexandria and the Jews as well, Wikipedia goes into it as well. Even Apollos, and one of the disciples in the book of Acts, was considered an Alexandria Jew from Alexandria, Egypt. So that verse 38, other nations began to inhabit Jerusalem because so many of our people fled. So a lot of our people fled, then heathen tried to come move in. After our people fled, the heathen tried to come move in. Among those heathen were Edomites, who were south of the land, and they would come in the land and they would try to love in there as well. And they were eventually kicked out by the Maccabees. So verse 39, her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness, and her feasts were like turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. And then I'm going to get into that 41, go down to 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. And doesn't that sound like today, like the New World Order? That's what they want. They want a one world order, you know? In verse 42, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Verse 44, yeah, many also Israelites consented to the religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So they were going against the Sabbath, sacrificing to idols, doing abominations to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Verse 44, and the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Verse 45, and they forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and the festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Verse 47, and they set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrificed swine's flesh to unclean beasts, so unclean foods. Verse 48, and they will also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of the cleanness and profanation. Verse 49, to end they might forget the law and change the ordinances. Verse 50, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So you would die, basically. Antiochus had the Israelites leave their customs, like I was saying, and their laws, and they should follow the religion of the Greeks, following the Edomites, the heathen, and to eat abominable, unclean foods, worship idols, like how it was saying, worshiping Jupiter. That's what Antiochus did. That's what his worship is, the Jupiter. the rebel part. You know, one of the idols was Jupiter. That's what I was getting at. You know. We'll get into that. First Maccabees chapter 2, Matthias, how he does the rebellion, how he rebels against it. Matthias, he stood up strong. So, bro, if you want to hear the word, it's good. The Matthias, he stood strong. So, say, First Maccabees chapter 2. Verse 18, and they made war against the Ptolemy king of Egypt, but Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Verse 19, thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. So they're offering him a deal, just like how Satan tempted Yahawashi with more than the heathen. You know, like how he tempted Yahawashi and tried to give him an abundance of the earth. Yahawashi didn't do it. He said, don't tempt the Lord thy God. Yahawashi didn't fall for it. Yeah, so Yahawashi didn't fall for it, like I was saying. And it's nothing new. The heathen tries to give us the crumbs, like no different from today. So I'm going to keep going till verse 22. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. Verse 20, and after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, and he returned again into the 143rd year. And went up against Israel in Jerusalem with a great multitude. Verse 21. And he entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of the light and all the vessels thereof. Verse 22. And the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the vial and the crowns and the golden ornaments. And they were before the temple and he pulled off. You know, he made just like making likeness of our images in that first Maccabees 3:48. You know, to be our own a lot. This happened here in the Renaissance period when they made likeness into our images. What was his name? Pope Alexander made a Caesar Borgia, made the image, the false image. That one right here. You know, Caesar Borgia. It's like that happened in this modern era. In the Renaissance period, they did it as well during those times. Like that. Yet I will make I and my sons' brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. Verse 20, Matthias holded his ground right there, and he said, I'm going to walk in the covenant of our fathers. He didn't fold, like how we do today. We walk in the covenant of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, trying to fulfill our contract in the covenant to make it into the new kingdom, and like Hebrews 8:9, get the laws in our minds and our hearts, you know? And so Matthias consented to the covenant of our fathers, you know, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Matthias and his sons wanted to keep the covenant with Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. And when you make a covenant with the heathen, you forsake the covenant with Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, you know? That's why Matthias is a patriarch of the Maccabees. And is one of his notable sons is Judas. Judah. We'll just call him Judah. You guys can hear the word if you want to hear it. No, and like that, like that 2 Kings chapter 17. It's 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 35, and with whom the Yahawah made a covenant and charged them, saying, Ye shall not fear other gods, nor bow yourselves to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them. Because we're not supposed to sacrifice other gods, because Yahawah is a jealous God. We only serve Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. That's what that 2 Kings 17:35 stating. And that is what would happen in the temple when the Edomites came in, you know? First and second. So we're going to get into that in 2 Maccabees. Just to let you know, the first and second Maccabees are actually the same events. They just have different details that are added on both sides. It is actually the same story, just different sides of it. Different sides of the story. This is 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 1. Not long after the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of Yahawah. You know? And that's when Antiochus made the decree that we should depart from the laws of our fathers. They also sent old men from the Athens to compel the laws of our fathers. Now I'm going to get into verse 2. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympius, and that in Garizim of Jupiter they defend of strangers, and they did desire that dwell in the place. And that lines up right with Daniel 11 as well. Read it right there. This is Daniel chapter 11 and verse 4. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken. It shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, not according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked. That's what happened, you know. That's what was prophesied. Like and go down to 28. And then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. Just like how I was talking about, they forsook the covenant. They went against the covenant. It was prophesied. And there it is right there. Daniel 11 lines up with it. I'm still going to add Yahawah's video into it. But because he explains all of it, you know, that was just a little example right there. It's like, that's what they worshipped, Jupiter. So I know because it said in Daniel 11, it says, it didn't say Jupiter in here. When you read it, it didn't say Jupiter, that what were worshiping. But when you go into the Hebrew definition of it, it was saying Jupiter. Yeah, I think Salaki, bear with me, I'm trying to find it. You kind of couldn't find it, but it's all good. It's all good. Salaki, Salaki. Yeah, so. Go on to that verse 2. And they promote also the temple in Jerusalem, and they call it to the temple of Jupiter, Olympus, and that is in Garazim, and Jupiter of the defender of strangers, as well as they did desire to dwell in their place. So like I was saying, Antiochus was known for his persecution in the Jews of Judea and Samaria in the rebellion of the Jewish Maccabees, of the true Jews, the Maccabees, you know? So we'll go down to verse 3. And the coming of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. For the temple was filled with riot, reviling by the Gentiles, who dealt with harlots, had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, besides brought in things that were not lawful. Verse 5. And the altar was filled with profane things, which the law forbidden.
So the laws of Moses, this was against.
Verse 6, neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days, ancient feast, or to profess himself to be a Jew. So they were putting unclean foods and sacrificing in the temple, also bringing harlots in the temple and dealing with them and throwing parties, getting drunk inside the temple. You know? Well, that's all bad right there. And they couldn't call themselves a Jew. Just like today's nowadays, you know, like Kanye West, he called himself a Jew, and look what happened. He lost a lot of riches, a lot of money. They don't want the Great Awakening to happen. Esau's time's almost up, though. He can't do nothing about the prophecy. It's all coming to pass. So we're getting that first Maccabees 4:35. This is First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 35. Now when Lysias saw that his armies put to flight and the manliness of Judah's soldiers and how they were ready either to live or die violently, he went into Antiochia, Salakia, and gathered together a company of strangers, having made his army greater than it was, and he purposed to come again into Judea. So they came against Jerusalem, and Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi had them fall. Read verse 28. And the next year, therefore, following Lysias, gathered 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, that they might subdue them. So they came up again. So that's 60,000 men and 5,000 on horses. They took up a whole year to build up an army. So in verse 29, so they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsaida, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. So Judas only had 10,000 men, you know, with them. So I'm going to keep reading. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsaida, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. And when they saw the mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed, O Thar, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, who gavest the host of the strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul. and his armor bearer. Shut up his army in the hand of the people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power of horsemen. Verse 32, and when he make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. Verse 34, so when they joined battle, they were slain of the host of Lysias, about 5,000 men, even before them were slain. Verse 35, now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die violently, he went to Antiochia and gathered together a company of strangers, having made his army greater than it was, and he purposed to come again into Judea. So you know, this is like that. This is right there. How
Judas and his 10,000 men were able to overcome this.
They were able to overcome this fight right there. You know, his army was greater.
He overcame it by praying to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi,
And by the hand of the servant David, you know, by bringing up the Savior of
Israel, how he brought up the great works, how he brought out the children of Israel through Egypt, through the Pharaoh. So we gotta get ready for those times during Jacob's trouble. That we gotta bring up all the times that Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi saved us, and we never gave up on him through faith, because that's what it's all about. Just like how he did it for David, because that's why Judas brought up David as well. And, you know, because David, how he defeated Goliath, you know. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's what it's all about. And like, is anything's possible with Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, like Matthew 19:26, you know.
So I'll read verse 53. And they offered sacrifices according to the law in the new altar of the burnt offerings which they had made. Salaki, I forgot I gotta get the Sirach 2 and 10 with it. And then I'll read that again. This is Sirach chapter 2, and verse 10. And whatsoever my eyes desire, I kept not from them. And I withheld not my heart from any joy. And for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and that this was a portion of all my labor. Verse 11. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and the labor that I had labored to do. Behold, all that was vanity and vexation of the spirit, that there was no profit under the sun. You know, we gotta have faith in Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, that he's gonna deliver us like how we delivered the children of Israel through Moses. Because that's a foreshadow of what's to come, of Yahawashi to deliver us. You know, just like how I said, what he did with David, and he's done it multiple times, like how Daniel, how he got out of the fire. It's all through Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Miracles that will come to pass through faith. So I'll read that verse 53 again in Maccabees. This is First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 53. I'll start at 52. Salakia. Now on the 25th day in the 9th month, which is called the month Casleo, in the 148th year, they rose up but the times in the morning. Verse 53. And they offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of the burnt offerings which they had made. And now that's why we start the feast of dedication on the 25th day in the 9th month. Now when we read verse 61. I'll start at 56. So they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and the altar burnt offering with gladness and sacrifice deliverance and the praise. I'll read 55 too. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping. I'll just go from 54 all the way down to 61. Look at what day the heathen had profaned it, and even what it was dedicated with songs and psalteries and harps and cymbals. Verse 55, and then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the Yahawah of heaven, who had given them good success. Verse 56, and so when they kept dedication of the altar 8 days, offered burnt offerings and gladness, sacrifice of the deliverance of praise and praise.
That's why we keep the Feast of Dedication for 8 days.
They decked and also the front of the temple with crowns and gold, and with shields, and with gates and chambers, and renewed the doors upon them.
So this is when they got the temple back from the Greeks.
They decked it with forefront, the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hang doors upon them. That's what Judas and the Maccabees did, you know? They redecked it, the temple. And this was very great gladness among the people, that the reproach of the heathen was put away. They put away the heathen. Moreover, Judas and his brethren and the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by space of 8 days, from 5 and 20th days of the month, Casleo, and the mirth and gladness. This is why we keep it every year for 8 days, the Feast of Dedication. And at that time they builded up Mount Zion with the high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. Verse 61, and they set there a garrison to keep it, fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that they might have a defense against Idumea. So you know, that's the defense against the Edomites, you know that, verse 61. And like Gregorius and Cassius were Edomites. They weren't Japhers, you know. That's what I was getting. That's what I was getting into. So like, that's the Feast of Dedication breakdown. You know, it's like, that's why we celebrate the Feast of Dedication, and we don't celebrate these holidays. I'm gonna bring out that Jeremiah 10 to expose Christmas, what just passed Christmas. Just like New Year's coming up, that they're going off the Gregorian calendar. Yahawashi was born in spring. He wasn't born in January. Just like with Christmas, they try to say Yahawashi was born in Christmas. No, that was Nimrod and Tammuz. Doing all their Saturnalia, you know? That's why we don't celebrate Christmas. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Verse 2, thus saith the Lord, learn not the ways of the heathen. Be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Verse 3, for the customs of the people are vain. Vain, it's empty. These people are empty. And for one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. And that's what they do. That's the Christmas tree right there. Verse 4, and they deck it with silver and with gold, and they fasten it with nails and with hammers, and they move it not. And that's what they do when they put the tree in their house. It's in one spot, and it stays there, just like how that stays. and they deck it with silver and gold, ornaments that are silver and gold. And it's funny because it's idolatry, you know? It's like idolatry. It's a tree. You know, come on. Verse 5, and they are upright as the palm tree, and they speak not, and they must needs to be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also it is in them to do good. You know, it's evil what they do. That's what they're doing, sacrificing unto children, doing the ways of the heathen. Idolatry, you know? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 7. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 2. And when Yahawah thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt not make no covenant with them, nor show mercy to them. He's not going to make a covenant with them because they're the heathen. They're doing the ways of the heathen. You know? You got to do what's right for Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Go down to verse 4. For they will turn away. I'll read verse 3. Neither thou shalt they make marriages with them, nor the daughter shall not give unto his sons, nor his daughter shall not make unto thy sons. We shouldn't be getting married with them. So lucky. I know I slipped up on that, but it's good though. Bounce back. You feel me? Like I never left. Like we ain't talking Mozzie. Verse 4. For they will turn away thy son from following me, and they will serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahawah be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Because we don't serve other gods. We only serve Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, the one that's going to save us in these chariots. The one that's going to come before this place gets demolished by nuclear missiles, by arrows, you know? So we got to stay fasting and praying and keep staying in the spirit and keep pushing this work and doing our work so that they follow us. Because if either we get persecuted or we get beamed up, that's our two hopes. Hopeful elect, Yahawah Radazal, hopeful Bakiyar. Verse 5, but thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. Come on. Right there. That's graven images. That tree right there is a graven image, and it's going to get burned down by nuclear missiles. What they're doing is an abomination to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Everything they're doing, you know? Ways of the heathen, you know? That's what they're doing. They're celebrating Tammuz's December 25th day. He was worshipped as the sun god Nimrod, because that was his father. And that's what you're doing if you're celebrating that pagan holiday, Christmas. You know? Just like I'll bring out that Slovakia. Where is it at? I'm looking for it. Bring out Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, empty deceit. You know, they're empty. The tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world and not after Hamashiach. They're the traditions of men, man. They're not, just like verse 6, that's what we do, you know? We receive Hamashiach, Yahawashi, the Lord, so we walk in it. And that they're not doing that. They're doing traditions of men. Good for that, I look for that Titus. It's the book of Titus, chapter 1, verse 13. This witness is true, wherefore rebuke them that sharply that may be sound in the faith. Verse 14, not giving heed to Jewish fables, commandments of men that turn away from the truth. That's what they're doing, commandments of men, commandments of the heathen. That's what these churches out here in this city preach, to follow these pagan holidays. Zephaniah 1:8 in the New Living Translation, and on that day of judgment, said Yahawah, I will punish the leaders and princes of Judah and all those of following pagan customs. You know, this is the righteous of Yahawashi, this breakdown, you know, as well as the King James Version, Zephaniah 1:8. That's the breakdown of it, you know. But the NLT is just showing it right there that that's what they're doing. It's pagan ways, man. Following these pagan holidays. We know that's the righteousness of Yahawashi though, because you're gonna get that white robe. It's not like saying you have to wear fringes. It's just like Yahawashi separating the sheep from the goats, you know, because you have to have on that righteousness clothing and had belief. So fringes wouldn't save you. No, it's the garment that would save you. That's why you got to believe on this gospel, you know? So come on now. Because I'll get more into it. Like the same ones that got this righteousness of Yahawashi, they was like the blood of the lambs, you know? And they received judgment by getting the white robes. The white robes was given unto them, the ones that believed in Yahawashi in the snow. So they wasn't wearing those white robes on earth. The white robes was given onto them. They was given onto them, you know, and then they would rest the rest of their brothers that was killed as the day. That's why they would rest in the altar, you know, and they'll be resurrected from the dead, and their righteousness is going to be carried upon them and receive eternal life, immortality body. That's why I was saying it separates the sheep from the goats. You know, that's why we don't follow these pagan ways like the NLT breakdown of it. Because you'll get punished for following those pagan customs. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. This is Matthew 26. This is Matthew chapter 26 and verse 6. And now when Yahawashi was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and had poured it on his head, and he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much, and given to the poor. When Yahawashi understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she had wrought a good work upon me. Verse 11, for ye have the poor always with you, but me have not always. Verse 12, for in with she had poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verse 13, verily I say this unto you, wherever so this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman had done be told for a memorial of it. And with that, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Mashiach, Malak, Yahawashi. Peace, salutation to the hopeful elect scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth, learning or teaching this gospel in truth and sincerity. Shalom.